We are live. This is the NBA Rundown. My guy Clyde's probably smoking a cigarette right now after the greatest 14 minutes of his life. And I'm here with Tyler and JC and I. We just couldn't stop arguing, right? We had some fun a little bit earlier on the NFL show. If you guys missed that, we were breaking down Thursday Night Football and a couple of our favorite bets for Sunday. But now we're going to get into tonight's association. We had a great time last night on the live show. We gave out some winning picks and had some great basketball discussion. Holden does a great job of hosting. So when we don't have any plays to give out, he's just kind of, you can tell the guy's a real pro, right? Giving out the statistics, talking about who's ahead, and just doing it in a professional manner. So make sure you're checking out that live show as well. Tyler, good morning. How are you doing?
Hold on, let me get the mute button off. I'm good. I mean, just got done doing the show with Meg and brother Steve. That was a fun show with the props. Now it's time to break down some NBA with my guys. So I think we'll find some winners. It wasn't my best night last night.
All right. Well, we're going to turn it around tonight because my favorite times to tail a very good capper is coming off a loss. Just like in the NBA, we like to bet teams coming off a loss. JC, how have you been feeling about the association so far this year? I've been really good except for about one or two teams.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a brutal time of year. And I'm a big hockey guy. Baseball wrapped up last night, and of course, mid-football season. So really only been watching my local Grizzlies and Clippers play. So not too deep into things yet, but my takeaway is Memphis looks terrible. Clippers are better than expected. And I'm excited for all the content that will come this season from Bronny Jr.
All right. Well, fortunately, the two teams that you've been watching, that's two of the four games tonight. So we will expect some expert analysis. I'm trying to think of things that we saw last night, Tyler. Speaking of the Clippers, well, we'll bring up that game when we're breaking down the game. That was a little disappointing. Boy, how fun was that to watch the Cleveland game? How fun was it to watch truth and justice prevail in Cleveland? So we had a good time with that one. Underdogs did pretty well last night. We got some of them on the live numbers at even better prices, and those cash for us. And the Boston Celtics suffer their first loss of the season against the Indiana Pacers, who finally lived up to their name and pushed the pace the way that they did last season. When that team is moving, they look a lot better, and they're really going to have to rely on cardio and conditioning because they don't want to get stuck in the half-court offense. So, Tyler, unless you have any thoughts about last night's games, we'll dive into tonight.
Nope. I mean, we dive right into tonight.
You don't want to talk about Cleveland a little more? That was a great game. That was enjoyable basketball.
Yeah, they dominated. I mean, I've already labeled them the second best team in the East, so it's like a little bit expected spread. Well,
I'm glad that you expected it because I was a little nervous going into that game, and I enjoyed every second of it. I'll probably watch it about 3 or 4 more times tonight. Why would I watch live NBA games when I could just watch the Lakers get smoked? But the Milwaukee Bucks are laying 6.5. They're in Memphis taking on your local team, JC, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies. Tyler, to me, I already gave out this play, but I don't know if you've seen it. So I'm just going to get your breakdown first, and then I'll let you know where I landed here. What do you think?
Yeah, just if I had to guess, if this is your play already on this game, judging by the injury report, you took Memphis. I did not look at the sheet yet. Yeah. Addition by subtraction for spread. I mean, they're so beat up. Like they couldn't beat the Nets spread. They look so bad. Like I don't know if I'm going to join you on that, but I know one prop I'm looking at in this game. Give me Brook Lopez to shoot 3 threes and make them. You're going to get a nice fat number on that. His props are 1.5 minus 130. The 3+ is plus 220, and he's going to be matched up with Zach Edey, who's not going to want to come out of the paint. If Brook Lopez can get a couple of those shots to go in before they start to go small, he's going to go over that 3+. So I'll take a shot on that at plus 220.
Yeah, and Edey was actually having problems getting run last night against that smaller Brooklyn lineup. So that would be my concern when you're talking about Lopez as we see the small lineup with Jaren Jackson or maybe Santi Aldama even playing center here. Yeah, I do like the Memphis Grizzlies here. And I just, remember 2 years ago when I was just Team Bucks and I was just, this is the best team in the league and you guys underrate them. And I love them so much. But those days are over, man. The coaching downgrade is palpable. They went from one of the best coaches in the league to one of the worst coaches in the league. They no longer have that defensive identity, and we're already getting rumors that Giannis is going to ask out here as this team continues to fall in the standings. And we've talked about it before. Small guards over the age of 30 do not age well in the NBA. Chris Paul's the outlier here. Steph Curry's an outlier here. And Damian Lillard's a great shooter, but for the amount of money he makes, you're not getting passing out of him. You're not getting rebounding out of him, and he's definitely not a good defender. I just struggle to see how this Bucks team continues to roll. I think that there's chemistry problems. And one thing I do like about the Grizzlies is that, I talk about player development all the time, and that's where you give their coach, Taylor Jenkins, credit, is he's always got these bench players ready to roll. And that's why it wasn't as good last year, but 2 seasons ago, whenever John Morant sit, the Grizzlies were an auto bet against the spread because people underestimated how good the depth on that team was. And I think we're going to see it again tonight with the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't know if I'll be brave enough to take that money line, Tyler, but I took the 6.5. JC, you've been watching this Memphis team this year, and you have not been impressed. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of sloppy play. I mean, just not the kind of play we'd seen from them in the past. I mean, so jumped out to a huge lead over Chicago and just fell apart in the second half. And they're liable to do that, but normally they're really good at making that fourth quarter push to, get themselves the win. And they just haven't had that in them these last 2 games at home. And John Morant, he just looked flat. Like, I mean, he didn't play against the Bulls, but in Brooklyn, I expected him to take over at the end, and he just didn't. I don't think that's something we can expect to continue to see. I mean, he's a great player. He's definitely one of the best players in the league, and I expect a huge rebound from him tonight. This number's too big to make me interested in going either way because, I mean, the Bucks look terrible as well. So I'm not rushing to lay 6.5 points with them. And the Grizzlies have a talented roster, so eventually they're going to turn it around as well. I don't know what their ceiling is this year. But as of right now, these are 2 teams that I don't have any interest in picking a side for. I know some people are traumatized by the John Morant props, but I expect a big game out of him tonight. It's a huge one for them. This is like their 4th game this week at home. So before they hit the
that's
road,
one of the big things in this game, right? 5 games in 7 nights. But the thing is, the last 4 have been at home. So it's not like that where we're getting a team on a travel spot.
Right, exactly. So I like a bounce back spot from Jaw here tonight. I'll take his point prop. Seeing like 21, 22.5, I'll probably pull the trigger on 25 plus.
Tyler, I want to jump in on this under as well, but I want to talk.
I got to touch on that before we do that spread. You take that thing up to 30, JC.
Heard
he could crush this matchup. Yeah. You're getting plus 320 on him to score 30, and he's going to get all the volume in the world out there.
And we all think that Giannis go ahead.
He hasn't regressed. Like, it's some sloppy play that he's way better than. And, especially Jaren Jackson probably being the next biggest scorer, knowing that he's probably going to get into foul trouble with Giannis, it's going to fall that much more onto Morant.
Yep.
Yeah, and Giannis, everyone say he's the best player on the floor, but let's not forget that 2 seasons ago when he was fully healthy, John Morant was right there in that MVP conversation with him. So I think that, if there's a little bit of recency bias here as we're forgetting how good he can really be. And if there's ever a team that's going to be motivated, it's going to be coming off that loss to the Nets. And I talked about it on the live show last night where, yes, fatigue is real. And as the season goes on, we're going to continue to play these fatigue spots. But at the beginning of the season, especially without the travel, I'm not as worried about the fatigue as I normally would be. And I think that's a trap a lot of people fell into with the Dallas-Minnesota game, thinking, it's 3-4 for them. But you just forget, it's so early in the season. These guys have been ramped up for these matchups all year, and both teams are going to have something to prove. So, hey, Milwaukee might get the win, but I still think the Grizzlies keep this close. And
what do you think about his assist prop also? You're getting 7.5 plus money. He's had 11, 10, 2, and 10.
Yeah, and that's why you're getting the 7.5 if they're just going off his total average because the game with 2. But I believe that he played limited minutes in that game. Didn't he go out in that game?
He played 23 minutes in that game.
Yeah, so see, I think that would give you a reason as why that number was so low. I can't argue with an assist prop either, Tyler.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I like the under. The under just went down a point while we were talking. Tyler, I like the under here. What do you think?
I'm probably going to leave the total alone in this one.
Fair enough.
Just because Memphis does have some guys that can hit threes. We know Milwaukee doesn't love to cover the 3 line. Those guys get hot. This game could get more high scoring. Milwaukee could run up and down the floor with Dame and Giannis. Probably just stay away from the on total.
All right. Clyde's in here talking about porn star Gianna Michaels and her double Ds. Anything more on this game, JC?
No, maybe it might get involved in some live action, but there's just props are the only thing I'd be interested in here. And on the Memphis side, I'm only seeing Ja and Triple J.
Okay, fair enough. And that's probably because there still are some questions around that rest of that one. Just to kind of actually be serious, Clyde, I wouldn't play the double-double tonight. I don't think that the Bucks are the slam dunk win straight up that everybody thinks they are. This team's been struggling this year. And like I said, I think there's a chance for some discontent there in that locker room. And we know they're not well coached. So, I mean, we've seen upsets all the time. And we'll get to it. The one that I'm really upset about when we talk about the last game of the night. Boy, this total keeps dropping. Tyler's dropped 1.5 points during the time that we've broken down this game. Let's talk about the Houston Rockets traveling in-state rival. The Dallas Mavericks, last year's finalist from the Western Conference. They're hosting Houston. And you know how high we were on Houston last year, and I was waiting for them to make that leap. But we simply haven't seen it yet. And while Dallas just continues to get better, and I'll take an L here, I didn't think that Klay Thompson was going to help that much. But in this system where there are more athletes, it just feels like you can hide his defensive deficiency. It's funny because when he was a top 10 player, it's because he was so good on both sides of the ball. No longer that player. However, his shooting's opening up the floor for Luka, Kyrie, and the rest of the players on the Mavericks. Tyler, I gave this one out at 6. I still think it's good at 6.5. I like the Mavericks.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Mavericks win this game pretty easily. I mean, Luka looked like he was banged up last game. I think that's just how he plays anymore. Like, you'll see him go to the locker room, hobble, come back out, finish the game. Kyrie was balling in that Minnesota matchup. This could be another matchup he just crushes. Because how are they going to match up with him? Like, are they going to go Fred VanVleet? He'll cook him. Or are they going to go with Jalen Green, who can't play any defense? That's not a good idea. Dylan Brooks probably has to cover Luka, so this could just be an absolute Kyrie smash spot. I'm trying to see what his recent numbers have been against Houston and go off of those. But, I mean, this could definitely be a spot. He just keeps the shooting going. I don't mind doing his points. So, in his 3 games with Dallas, he's put up 27, 24, and 48 against Houston. I don't hate doing like a 25-plus and win with Kyrie in this spot. His points prop is 23.5, so you can go over on that too.
All right, you hear that, Clyde? So I didn't like your first one, but Tyler and I both agree with this one. JC, are you going to join us? Do you think it's a big night for Kyrie Irving? Think the Dallas Mavericks can cover the 6.5 point spread?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the right play here. I mean, Houston, shaky to start. I mean, inconsistent, I'll say, to start the season. I mean, they're a fun young team we talked about them a lot last season, the potential there, a high scoring team, but Dallas is going to be on a warpath this season. They're looking to bring that championship back home. I really like him this season. I thought the addition of Klay Thompson was incredible for them. I definitely think that could be the difference maker to get them over the hump. And I think a large part of that will just be how he accepts that role. Basically, it would be more than like Ray Allen with the Heat, but just kind of not being that go-to guy.
I think Ray Allen with the Heat is the perfect. His contract isn't that high anymore. He's just going to be the shooter that shoots daggers and probably a liability on defense that you're going to need to hide. And I wrote about
more minutes out of him.
I think you're smart not giving him too many minutes. The conditioning is down. He's too slow to play defense, but he gives you a huge offensive boost when you need. Gives you a little space, especially if you need to get your big 2 guys going. At nukethehouse.com, we have plenty of free articles. JC's got one previewing the NFL game tonight. And one of my favorite columns that I get to write all week is because I get to write about whatever I want is This Week in Sports Betting. And that came out yesterday. And in it, JC, I kind of described that because of the way that the Mavericks just got decimated in the finals last year, right? I mean, they just got dismantled by the Celtics. I think that in our mind, we've kind of downgraded this team and not realizing what an achievement it was for them to come out the West and be the best team in the Western Conference last year. So maybe the Mavericks are a little undervalued in the minds of the public because of the way the NBA Finals turned out. Tyler, anything more on this game? Any other props that you're looking at, or do you want to keep it moving?
I think we definitely got to take a look at Clay's threes prop at 3.5. I'm getting his numbers from this year. He has hit, let's see, to start the season, he went 2 for 7. Then he's hit 4 for 11, 5 for 12, 6 for 10. So he's hit that number in 3 straight games. You look at his matchups with Houston. Of course, these are all in his Golden State days, but he's hit 7, 5, 5, 5, 12, and 10 in his last 6 matchups with Houston.
He always does well against Houston. It's a great matchup for him.
He's on Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
Plus money still. I think that is a nice shot here. That's all the dude.
I think that's a great shot. I'm going to pull that up on BetOnline right now. And Tyler, when we're dealing with these props, right, we're targeting usage. And when you give me those double-digit three-point attempts, that's all I want to see. If we lose, we lose. However, I think that you found a great angle there, and I'm going to have to join you on that right now. You ready to keep it moving, though? I gave this one out early, and I'm pissed because it's just like that Texans game. The line moved against me, and I could have got a way better number if I would have been patient. And that's the Utah Jazz, who I laid 2 points with. But I'm assuming Lauri Markkanen is ruled out. Let me refresh this here because this line has moved 3 points since this morning. No, he's still a game time decision, but this market move tells me that Lauri Markkanen is out. So I don't love it as much here. But in this case, I am kind of playing a little bit of fatigue angle with San Antonio Spurs playing that hard-fought game against the
Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder last night. And the fact that they're traveling to Utah, and we know that Utah is a tough place to play just in general, one of the best home court advantages in the league. Not to mention the Jazz have yet to win this game this year. So they're not having to worry about their lottery. They're not worried about giving up, their pick position. They need to get a win. So I think we're going to see a focused, motivated Jazz team with a little bit of extra rest here. Obviously, a little disappointed that Markkanen's out. I wish I could have got this new number. But if you guys haven't bet it yet, I like the Jazz. What do you think, Tyler?
I think I'm going to be opposite of you on this one, Spread. I mean, I know it's a tough road trip for the Spurs, but I think this Jazz team is absolute dog shit. I think they are terrible. I think the Spurs are going to walk out on this floor tonight after playing the best defense in the NBA by a mile last night in OKC. They had them at 33% field goal percentage at one point in the third quarter, Spread. Only one guy on the Spurs was in double digits at that point. They were in an absolute straitjacket from OKC. They're going to walk out there and go, there's like no defense on the floor tonight for the Jazz. This is awesome. Like, we can actually put the ball in the hoop. We don't have these guys just mauling us. I think the Spurs come out. I think Victor has a huge game. Another center I'd want to target for threes tonight. 3+ on him is right around 2-1. Matched up with Walker Kessler. He's not going to want to come outside. He's a stone-footed big. So I like that call. I think I'd take the shot on the Spurs here. I think they win the game.
All right, we are opposite there. JC, break the tie.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to, man. I mean, because, you got to the edge Utah gets at home, and they played 4 extremely tough opponents to open the season, and they've pretty much just been clowned. I mean, they kept it close with Memphis, but Memphis isn't playing that well, so I take that back. But, Golden State, Dallas, Sacramento, they just got embarrassed. San Antonio has some talent. They're not really looking great either. So to me, it's just an ugly game. I could see it going either way. Obviously, that's why they spread where it is, and I couldn't even make a guess for you.
Yeah, you make a great point there, JC, when you're talking about the strength of schedule and maybe a little bit why Utah hasn't looked as good. Tyler, I was throwing in that Klay Thompson bet. I also did a little over 6 threes for 400. plus 400. Any props for this one, or you want to just move on to the last game of the night where I need your guys' help because I cannot get a Clippers game right to save my freaking
I don't mind the Victor's threes prop and laddering Chris Paul's assists up from 7.5 here because the 7.5 is minus 135.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind just taking it 10 plus a plus 175.
I like that as well. All right. JC, help me out here, man. I if you took out the Clippers, I'd be crushing the NBA this year. I keep losing on their games. When I fade them, they play great. When I bet on them, they can't get it done. And that happened to me last night as I laid the 8. Okay, that's fine. Hey, laying 8's tough in the NBA. Maybe not the best idea, right? But why did I jump back in the second half and just get them basically I bet the second half, but it was essentially that they would win by 2. They jump up by 8. I'm thinking I'm going to win both bets. And then they just let Portland rain every single 3. They're getting wide open. DeAndre Ayton actually looked good. That was a tough watch for me, man. Now they got to turn around and play the Phoenix Suns. I laid, what did we lay, Tyler? 5 with the Phoenix Suns. They played this game on opening night. The Suns win by 3. They were down most of the game. I thought the Suns might lose outright. They pretty much put up the same numbers here. They made it 4.5, so they've adjusted a half point for the fact that the Clippers covered on October 23rd, last Wednesday when they played in Los Angeles, and the totals dropped a couple points. It was 222 when I did the projections this morning, down to 221. I agree with that as well, as far because both these teams are not playing with pace, and the Clippers have been playing well defensively. But JC, I can't figure your team out. Help me here. Guide me to the light. What do we do with this game tonight?
For starters, that first game was 8 days ago.
Yep.
Feels like it was a month ago. No, I mean, I think that game, I was with you. Like, I really had low expectations for the Clippers this season, but they came out looking strong. Don't forget that game went to overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go to Denver, win there. They go to Golden State, win there, come home.
Yeah.
And, they just got a little
to the
sloppy.
Blazers?
They just got sloppy. I mean, like you said, they had that. They were winning, and I mean, they just kind of let it get away from them. I mean, that was an embarrassing loss, but I don't think there's any reason to overthink that. This is the NBA, and that stuff kind of happens. I'm not jumping on Clippers money line, but them being at home and getting 4.5, I'll absolutely take the points on that one and expect another close game out of these two teams. Yeah.
Tyler, I would have had a great night last night if I just ignored the Clippers game altogether. That's what I'm doing right now. This is the only game I do not have a play on. What do you think?
I probably stick to just staying away from this one too. I mean, I think the Suns win, but I don't want to lay 4.5 after we've seen how they played out the first game. Clippers coming off that bad loss, they're probably going to want to bounce back in this spot. I can't bring myself to bet either side in this one. What's Tyus Jones' assist prop is 6.5. Don't hate that. And still don't hate going to these guys' threes prop. Devin Booker, KD. Booker's 2.5 at even money. KD's 2.5 plus 130. Budenholzer wants them shooting more threes. They've been getting more threes up, so don't hate taking their threes prop here. Probably deciding the totals alone.
All right, Tyler's leaving the side and the total alone. I think I will for now, JC, but I'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
I'll be rooting for you. JC, since we haven't had you on yet this season, give me your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns as a whole. I mean, is this a real contender in the Western Conference with the addition of Budenholzer, the addition of Tyus Jones? We were really excited, but from what I've seen so far, I don't know, man. I don't know. And I don't see how they could be on the same level as the Thunder, the Mavericks, and arguably the Lakers, although being on the road's kind of exploited some of their deficiencies. What are your thoughts on the Phoenix Suns as a whole? Like second round exit, true contender? How do you see them?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a tough one. And certainly if you look at the results, their 3-1 record, having beaten the Clippers, Dallas, and splitting with the Lakers, like it's a solid start to the season.
Good point.
They're just a team that can't really put it together. Or like they had that one year, what was it, in 2021? Like, I think that was their best chance. And this just something about them. It's just like they have the pieces. It's an awesome roster, but they just can't seem to keep up with those top tier teams in the West. You move them to the East, and they're probably in the conference finals, but just with the teams they got to play against, I'm not too high on them. I love KD. Booker's fun to watch, but yeah, I mean, probably second round at best.
How many more years can KD do this, man? He's 36 now, and he still looks like to be one of the best players in the league.
It's kind of what happens when you're 7 foot and can move like that and shoot like that. There's just you just leave.
Well, he's got 3 good years left. I mean,
yeah, probably.
I think he could lose. He could lose a step, and he'd still be able to shoot over half the league.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I think even at 40, he's better than average.
Okay, interesting. All right, guys, great conversation there. Is there anything else that I left out that you guys wanted to bring up?
No, nice short slate.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been doing really efficient shows here, Tyler, on this NBA rundown, and people are enjoying it. I want to get on here and talk and give all my takes, but it seems like the people enjoy not hearing me lament and soapbox. So we'll save that for a different day. Tyler, we'll go to you first, and then JC, I'm going to ask you for some words of wisdom, so you're ready. But Tyler, final thoughts on tonight's slate?
Yeah, it's a short one. The show's over quick, but I think we found some winners. I'm going to play the Klay Thompson over on his threes, the John Morant over on his assists. I'm going to tail JC on those John Morant ladder on his points. And other than that, I think that's going to be my only plays for today. Nothing on the sides and totals.
I'm putting in those job bets right now. Right, JC, words of wisdom.
You know what? More of a PSA. I'm just going to say, get out and vote, people. I don't want to hear you complaining about politics if you don't vote. So, feel your civic duty. Whatever side, I don't really care. That's your prerogative. But, as LBJ said, voting, the first duty of democracy.